Hey there, this is Project F Anthony here, and today I'm going to show you about the making of my latest song, Hengshan Road. And so this is the project, and in this video I'll try to go as much as I can into how I developed this project, developed the whole thing, and how the ideas and how the arrangements, the compositions, and how the mixing is all produced. Okay, so this is pretty much the whole thing about the whole project. It's mainly made in FL Studio and also partially made it in Logic Pro. That's pretty much it. And so it looks relatively simple. There's not too much to it. And by the way, this is really not my style of producing, because just for the sake of this video, I actually organized my whole project into these detail sections, and I even named my patterns. But usually when I produce, I just don't really care about them, because I can't identify them, so I don't really do that when I produce. But for the sake of clarity, I just renamed everything, sort of. Right, so let's get started. So as you can see here, this is a master fade-in. So let's play this volume, master fade-in volume, to just sort of give you a nice, smooth introduction to the whole song. And you can hear the volume is actually going from quiet to louder and louder and louder. And I want to talk about the sampling right here, which sounds like this. And this sample is actually recorded by my phone, and it's not like any advanced recording technology that you might expect. It's really just recorded by my phone, and it's actually recorded in a subway station called Hengshan Road. And for the intro of the song, the sample is actually describing the moment when the train came in. The train entered the station, and you can really hear the sound of the train here, right? The train is going to the station, and you hear the reports, like the one you really go out of the station. And then, as you can see here, the sample volume goes down, because when it goes down, the real music part starts to come in, and the pads, you can see the pads is slowly gaining volume, and also the beats is also gaining the volume. These are just, I combined those several volume automations. And yeah, you can see that's a pretty smooth fade in. And so we've got into the intro part here, where I introduce the bass sound. Okay, so now let's talk about the bass sound. To play a single pattern like this, you can hear the bass actually quite groovy and sort of bouncy. It sounds like, yeah, it just sounds really flexible and kind of watery, because first I placed a lot of resonance in this, and second, I think I used a bit of reverb in designing the sound. Okay, so then I added some basic filters, EQs, sort of cut out the ultra low frequency that will clog up the mix, and a bit of limiting. And that's pretty much it for the bass. Without the effect, with the effect. So there is a clear distinction between those two. Now I want to talk about the beat and how the beats develops over time. And this is the first beat pattern which sounds relatively simple. Only like 3 sounds is the kick, the open hi-hat, and then a close hi-hat. But then when it moves to the second part, it got more complicated because I added more hats, and I added a snare to the center on the left hand. And something interesting about this hats is that it doesn't really sound like the normal hats roll you hear. It's because I distorted it, and this is the before any processing is on. Yeah, this sounds like a sort of like a normal hats, but since I added this thing called hardcore in FL Studio, that you can actually hear there's a really big difference with hardcore on, without hardcore on. By the way, hardcore is actually used for guitars, but I think it's actually pretty creative to apply this amazing effect to drums. Once you put the hardcore on, you can hear it. There's actually a really big difference. Alright, so that's about it. Now let's move on to the third normal beat effect, which is something. For this, I added another snare to center on the right. Then I added another hi-hat, open hi-hat. And for this, I applied a bit of bit crushing to this, so which gives it a really rough texture, which is I'm quite satisfied with the sound. And this is without the effect, with the effect. So yeah, combined together, you hear this. Start from a single kick, right? And then add a bit of snare, add another snare. Add hats, open hats, and finally close hats, and another open hat. So that's pretty much about the beats thing. Now we've reached the piano part, and as you can see very clearly, in this piano part I didn't play the MIDI. I didn't play the MIDI for the piano part, but instead I used an audio file. But actually I didn't record this playing on a real piano, because this audio is actually imported from Logic Pro, because I feel like their piano samples are better suited for the mood of this song. So let's go to Logic Pro and see this kind of supplemental things for this project. So yeah, this is where the real MIDI actually lies in Logic Pro. And you can see without all of these sound effects, it already sounds like a really good piano sounds, but I just added a bit more EQ, and then a multi-band compressor to just sort of make the sound more authentic, or maybe just generally make it sound better. Alright. And so after I imported this clip as an audio to the FL Studio one, I gave it a really big reverb kind of sound, which is here. Then a little bit more EQ processing just to make it conform more to the overall mix of the entire song. And I added a lot of stereo width, which is right here. So which gives it overall just a much wider and spatial feeling. And you can hear the difference without the effects. It sounds a little bit dull, but with the effects it sounds brighter, more spacey. Right, cool. Alright, so now is the breakdown part. So the breakdown part, I'll say, just sounds something like this. I changed the bass pattern, and then I introduced the solo bell synth. Again, the solo bell synth is actually made in Logic. I think it's this one, and then just for the sake of demonstrating, I just named this bell right now. It's actually a sculpture synth I made here. I tweaked it a little bit and let's play. Yeah, sculpture actually really amazes me. The sound just pretty foreign and just alien, and I mean, yeah, it's just a really inspiring sound, and so I chose this for doing Logic and then imported it to FL Studio. And as you now can hear, as the thing starts to build up, the pad is gaining in its filter, so I'm trying to make the pad open up more and more of its volume and its kind of sense of impact to make you know that something big is coming. Alright. Now it's the second part of the breakdown, which is the final part that leads to the climax. And I think there's a lot worth talking about here. First, I'll show you this little synth right here, which is a lead. The lead for the whole song. This lead is made, it sounds quite, sounds like just popping back and forth, because I've got that nice delay sound, which I used the Fruity Delay 3 to really add a lot of kind of bouncy feeling, without the feeling, without delay. With delay, you can hear there's a really big difference between there. And a multi-band compressor. And the EQ that basically cuts off all the low ends and a bit of high ends, just to retain the nice mid sound. Yeah, that's pretty much about the lead. And here you can see I also assigned lead cutoff, which will be discussed later. Right. Now it's the bit crush beats. This thing is probably the most creative aspect I use for the song. So actually I've never really used this idea before of a bit crush beat. And this idea of bit crush beats actually another idea that's imported from Logic. Just here, this drum beats. Logic has really good built-in drum samples. It sounds quite real to me, and also really good for those chill out type of music, because it's just pretty chill, it sounds like. And this is the original drum beat I programmed in Logic for the bit crush beat, and this is what it sounds like without the bit crush effect. But with the bit crush effect, use the bit crusher in Logic, and it just overall just decimates the entire sounds by a lot, which is quite a unique kind of rough texture, but just really comfortable. You can really hear the grainy sort of sounds in there, which I really like it. And then when I import it to FL Studio, I feel like there can be more than just bit crush, because I feel like the whole thing can be more creative. And so when I go into my bit crush beat, of course I added a bit really basic EQ to cut off the low end, just to make sure that it doesn't conflict with the bass frequency and the kick frequency. I actually added the stereo enhancer to do some stereo delay. Which gives it a really much wider feeling. And so without the enhancer, it sounds something like this. It sounds more like mono-sided, but with the enhancer, you can obviously see that it sounds more like delayed on both sides, left and right side. Yeah, this is just extra EQ to sort of boost the little frequencies. And finally, I use this panning to automate the pan of the beat, which I think you can see right here, just to add to the overall the really spacey feeling and wide stereoized type of music, type of sound. And so to combine this bit crush beat and the normal beat, it's actually, I never expected that it would have such a shocking effect. It sounds something like this. Alright, individually they just sound kind of normal. Not as exciting, but the moment when you combine with the normal beat, everything sounds different. Wait. Something must have been wrong. Oh, I forgot to enable auto. Sorry. And because I added a lot of heavy swing here, you can see there's almost this really dynamic displacement of rhythms, just bounce back and forth in your ears. And because I added a lot of stereo, it really makes the feeling just all the more intense. And you can feel like the rhythm is almost like orderless, but it just feels a lot more freedom inside. So yeah, combined with the sort of groovy bass rhythm, altogether just something like this. Alright, so now back to the pre-climax build-up. I'm gonna talk about the transition and effects, which sounds something like this, I believe. These are like the sort of ring effect sounds. These are all made with like synthesizers and those sort of bubble sounds. And this is the sort of, I don't know how to describe, maybe the suspense sound you hear in movies. And just a repetition of this. And finally, a cymbal striking not on a whole beat, but on the 16th notes, which is here, which really creates another groovy transition. Right? Because if I put the cymbal right here, right, it sounds still like a nice transition, but it doesn't sound as groovy. So I moved it 16th notes earlier to make the whole song sound more groovy. Got that kind of more dynamics and displacement. Okay, and that's pretty much about the pre-climax build-up. And oh, by the way, this bass thing, I talked about it to show a more like compositional technique. I actually didn't use the same bass line this time. I started with E flats because the normal bass line, it sounds like a build-up bass line, but the chords of the pads they use is the same, and then the leads is basically the same, but I changed the bass notes, which really gives it a really more an additional feeling that, something is changing, something is really changing. And this is also shown near towards the end. And so, yeah. I started to play a lot with the leads cut off because I want to really show a lot of variation and sort of creativity and dynamics in the song with the leads part cut off, because it does really make a big difference in the sound. And as you can see towards the end, when the leads is gonna quit, I add a really sudden boost of the lead cutoff to give it like a really nice and sudden end. And I did the similar thing for the pad, and you can really see there is some sort of fluctuation within the cutoff parameter, which makes this pad sound more like changeable, sounds more variant. Maybe not as that obvious, but I do think it contributes overall to the interesting aspect of the music. Now, starting from this part, I started to fade the whole thing out, which I just reintroduced the bell thing I did in the initial breakdown, which is here, to show you that okay, I'm outroing, and instead of playing the piano chord this time, I changed it to a piano solo to show a bit more variation of the project. For this piano solo, I actually didn't use my computer to type it out immediately. I actually played it live. I mean, not recorded it live, but I played it live on a MIDI keyboard and recorded it with the MIDI keyboard, because I do want to add a more kind of live feeling to it, so you can really hear the rhythm is not as perfect. I actually did that on purpose. It's not as on spot. But I do feel like it's important because it adds a much more humane aspect to the whole song, and a more like free, like kind of free and groovy aspect to it. This is just a reverse version of this bell solo thing to sort of show more variation in the song. Now it's towards the end of the song, and you can see I moved the normal beat out, but I left the bit crush beat to sort of keep it still a little bit of the rhythm remaining, the taste, the groovy taste. But I'm really starting to remove stuff. I'm telling just, everything's gonna be gone soon. You can see I'm actually removing the pad filter and I'm lowering the pad volume to sort of show you that everything is going to fade away now, just to show you that everything's gonna end. And yeah, towards the end it sounds like this. And I actually really like this transition of the outro into the final 16 measures or whatever of the song. It's a combination of this suspense sound and this cymbal sound. And I don't really know how to describe that. I just find this really satisfying, especially when the cymbal hits. This feels like, well, it just concludes the whole song perfectly and just really in a good mood, I guess. And at the end, I even removed the bass sound, leaving only the piano and the pads. And now, in the outro, the sample starts coming again. And instead of playing another train coming into the station, this sample is actually me stepping into the train and just recording the train leaving the station and just leaving for the next station. And you can really tell that there's a storyline going on in this project. The intro starting with the train entering the station and the outro ending with the train leaving the station. So that's the basic storyline of this, and everything else actually depended on the storyline, and even the moods depends on the storyline, sort of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it about this project, and I really hope that you enjoyed this project overview and explanation. Well, I hope I wasn't being too I wasn't being too wordy or whatever. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy it. And if you really like this video, please don't hesitate to give this video a like or leave a positive comment, and I'll really appreciate it. And thank you. See you next time.